from Christmas break. It's been like a solid 3 weeks since we last met, so I hope you had lots of time to rest, sleep in, finish your homework, whatever it is that you did over your break. I know 2020 it felt like way longer than a single year, right? I'm sure a lot of us feel that way. It was a long year, but now that we've entered into 2021, I hope that you guys are all seeing some hope on the horizon, and especially in regards to coronavirus, it's looking more and more like there may be an end in sight. So let's hang in there, continue to care for our neighbors and ourselves, and do what we need to do to keep ourselves and each other safe. So since we haven't been able to meet in person for the past few months, one thing that's really been on my mind is why youth group is important, why being part of a community matters, why we need to show up to these spaces, and what we really get from it. So really what my question is, why does youth group matter? And so I want to spend the next few weeks talking about what we get when we choose to be part of a community, when we choose to show up to youth group, when we choose to answer questions in small group and listen to teachings and connect with one another. So over the next few weeks, you'll get to hear from a couple different people. You'll hear from me as usual, but we'll also get to hear some stories from both Andrew Zhao, our youth and emerging adults minister, and Ava Aram, who is one of your small group leaders. So there are three things that I think we get when we come to youth group. There's learning, there's connection, and there's fun. And so what I want to focus on today is learning. Learning is something that I've always been really passionate about. I've always loved school. I've always loved to read. I've always loved just learning about anything, just getting to challenge my brain. And I remember when I was a kid and I was in school, I had this project that I had to do on my family history. So we used Ancestry.com, and we were supposed to track as far back as we could go, like great-great-great-grandparents, all the way down to myself and my siblings and my cousins. And we were supposed to see just what we could learn about our family histories. And so to do this, I sat down with some of my grandparents, some of my aunts and uncles, and I hunted through Ancestry.com to find more information on my ancestors. And it ended up being a really cool project. I ended up learning so much about my family that I wouldn't have if I had never done this project. I ended up learning about relatives I didn't even know, like my great-great-grandparents. And I got to hear all of these super cool stories about my family's history. And I remember feeling like I was just connecting to this part of myself that I hadn't known before. Like I was connecting myself to our history. Like this is a part of a story that I was starting to find myself in. And I think when we learn about our faith, we get a really similar value from it. It's important to know who our ancestors are, who the people who have come before us are. It's important for us to learn about ourselves and our histories, and in doing that, we learn more about God. So I think the more we learn about faith, the more we're connected to our roots. It's people like Jesus and Mary and Joseph, Esther, Abraham, all of the people who have come before us and have done some brave and amazing things. And the more we learn about these people, the more we connect ourselves to this history, the more we grow, the better we understand what our faith is and has been in the world, the more we can understand where we're going in the future too. On the flip side of that, we also get to learn from other people's mistakes. So when we read the Bible, when we learn about faith and we learn about mistakes other people have made in terms of their faith, in terms of biblical history, we get to learn from their mistakes without having to make them ourselves. So I think there's a quote that says, those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. And if we study our own history, if we learn about the ancestors of our faith, we get to learn from their growth and their mistakes. And so it's really important for us to be connected to that history, because we can be better ourselves by learning from the lives of others. So when we show up to youth group and we learn about faith, we're growing ourselves, we're stretching ourselves, we're using our brains, the brains that God gave us, to think about what's important to us, what matters to us, and where we come from, and eventually where we're going. So I think we're connecting ourselves to this long history of Christians. We're choosing to be part of this whole story instead of just showing up and playing games where which are also important, which we'll get to in the next few weeks. But other than that, we're learning and we're growing and we're getting deeper and we're talking about the things that are important to us and the things that make life worth living. So the more we learn about our faith, the more we can discover how we can be better, how we can love our neighbor better. We learn about how much God loves us, and we learn how we can build God's kingdom of love and justice here on the earth. So we're gonna have some time to talk in small groups about what we're passionate about learning when it comes to faith, and what are the important things that we need to take away when we listen to a talk or we have conversations in our small groups, because we do these things for a reason. They matter, and I really do think that it makes our lives better when we can learn about God and when we can learn what it means to be part of a Christian community.